What is up, YouTube, and welcome to this Avengers Infinity War spoiler chat talk review, whatever you want to call it. Here be spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled for the movie, please do go away, watch the movie, enjoy it, stay to the end of that post-credit scene, and come back and enjoy the video. While you're at it, you could also drop a like and a subscribe so you know to come back. So Avengers Infinity War is absolutely stunning. The entire movie is just, from start to end, amazing. The only downside for me was parts of the CGI, a bit of the Black Order and how they were easily dispatched by most of the Avengers, and was a real shame. But really, the rest of it was amazing, and Thanos was everything I expected him to be in this movie. And as a whole, it was just a great end to this story, albeit we do have Ant-Man and the Wasp coming next, we have Captain Marvel, and we have Avengers 4, which is yet to actually be titled. So the story of Thanos was pretty accurate. So the rest of the whole of Infinity War is pretty much an amalgamation of Infinity Gauntlet, the Titan Quest Infinity War, and also as well the Infinity storyline, which came out a couple of years ago, which introduced us to Thanos' Black Order and that huge battle in Wakanda. So the things in Wakanda was based on Infinity, which I highly recommend you checking out. It is amazing. And we also had the Titan Quest, which featured Thanos getting all of the Infinity Stones together. Now, we never had really any explicit Infinity War stuff with Adam Warlock, because he's not actually in the movie, albeit he was actually going to be in the movie at some point, but there was too much to have. So while we have an interesting movie, it is a shame that it's not properly adapted, but I do think they've done really well here by adapting all of this. We have the Infinity Gauntlet where the snap and everything's gone. We have the fight. We have also Titan Quest involved as well, and the included Black Order trying to get each one of the stones from the Infinity storyline as well. So it fits in very well. Now the movie ends weirdly. We have the click of the finger, and then we have Captain America saying, "What have you done?" Thor was like, "What have you done?" as well. It's just crazy that he's done this. And what's weird is the Infinity Gauntlet is destroyed. It's completely and utterly destroyed. Now, I did like in the movie how they explained where this gauntlet actually came from, because if you remember, over in Thor, we thought we saw it, but Hela says that it's a fake, which is interesting that she actually knew what that actually was. So yeah, it's a bit odd there. So has he met Hela or whatever? That'd be quite curious to kind of know what's going on there. But I really do like the fact that we had the Peter Dinklage. He was the king of the dwarves there, and we saw Nilvadir, and that's where this was actually created. So he got the Infinity Gauntlet from there, and now it's destroyed, and he's living his life on a farm. So in the comics, in the end of Infinity Gauntlet, once Thanos had decided that he'd had enough, once he was defeated, he just lived on a farm, living out his simple life. But as time went on, he, joined up with Adam Warlock, which is interesting because after this, Adam Warlock's opposite version, Magus from another dimension, is back, and Thanos actually helps him defeat him. So yeah, it gets a bit complicated. And one thing which was really a kind of really deep cut is the fact that in Infinity Gauntlet we did actually have, with Nebula, she was defeated by Thanos and kept in a permanent near-death state. And that's quite similar to here, because she went to go and kill him and she was being tortured by Thanos himself. So she was being tortured and kept in a horrible state as well. So again, that is a nice thing there. And what they've done here with this adaptation is they've just taken bits. They've taken like bits like that. They've taken bits as well with the Black Order. They've just kind of taken the kind of greatest hits of all of Thanos and got them together, which is interesting because his origin changes somewhat, or albeit we don't actually see much of his origin, because his origin in the comics is that he was born a mutant, which is why he has really kind of, not like an X-Men mutant, but he has mutated kind of skin, got his purple skin, he's impervious, he's really strong, he's just a super powered being. But here we just learn about how Titan was, it kind of destroyed itself, but he went back and killed everyone himself in the comics. So that's how it's changed a bit there. So I quite like that. I quite like what they've done here. They didn't delve too much into it. We learned about Gamora and, well, the idea of the whole thing that the Soul Stone wanted to sacrifice, and how amazing was that return of the Red Skull. Wow. Now, what was cool is the fact that in the Prelude comic, they actually show the Red Skull not being destroyed by the Tesseract when he touched it with his bare hands, but he was actually being seen to be transported elsewhere. So that was really, really cool. A really, really nice little thing there that he's back and on that planet, which isn't really much. There's not much to write home about that planet. It's in the Kree space, and it's the home to the Vorms, which are our own kind of characters amongst themselves. So it's interesting that Red Skull is back. How will he actually return? Will he return? That is a really kind of pertinent question here, because as we go forward into kind of phase 4, will Red Skull come back to life and have some sort of weird secret empire story, and we will see him kind of rally the troops as a second coming of the Red Skull. And it's quite pertinent as well, quite similar to the modern politics of like the alt-right and all this kind of craziness that's going on. And I think that with this political landscape, it'd be a very good story to tell, to have the Red Skull to be returned, to be kind of adored. I think that'd be really cool. That was done really, really well in the comics a couple of years ago in 2016, and bleeding over again into 2017. So Red Skull returning would be a great, great boon. And what is interesting is that Thanos actually lost the gauntlet later on in the comics, and after he was betrayed by Mistress Death, who is not in the movie, which is a real shame. But I think that they've done well by keeping her out of it, and the way the movie works, it flows really, really well. But Nebula actually took control of the gauntlet, and Thanos actually convinced her to turn everything back to how it was. So will that happen in Avengers 4? What will Avengers 4 actually be? It's crazy to think that we don't really know what the title will actually be, but the group will be actually returning and in Avengers 4 and trying to undo everything that happened. But now in the post-credits scene, we know that Captain Marvel is going to return to Earth. So we'll learn more about that, and we'll probably get a better idea of what is going on with Captain Marvel and why she left, and why it's a big thing that she would return only for a code red in the Captain Marvel movie. Now, Adam Warlock was the one who kind of returned from being defeated and being in the Soul Stone to actually fight and take on Thanos and warn Earth of Thanos. So perhaps the Adam Warlock storyline, where the gauntlet is taken by him and is then kind of used for good and kind of actually used for good moral compass, maybe that will actually be what Captain Marvel is doing. She'll take the gauntlet and refix everything herself and replace that Nebula role. So let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think that is what's going to happen next? We've also got the kind of the next biggest story for Thanos really was the Annihilus Wave storyline. So Annihilus was a huge character in the comics and kind of was the setup for the Marvel cosmic storylines many years ago, about 10 odd years ago. So maybe that's where they're going to go next. We know that Guardians of the Galaxy is going to be a lot more cosmic in story. So I think that's really exciting to see where that will actually go next as well. So I think that is where we're going to go. Now, what is interesting as well is Doctor Strange. A lot of you probably are wondering why Doctor Strange decided to give up his time stone. Why did he give it up when he said that he'll die for it? And they made the big thing about it over in Doctor Strange, about him making his oath and sticking to what he wants to do and sticking to protecting Earth. But don't forget that he's been through time. He's seen every single possible eventuality. He's seen everything. So he knows what happens. And the fact that before he bleeds away, he says that it's the only way. Which, yes, it was. It really was the only way to actually stop it, because he knows exactly how to save Earth. So he knows how to save humanity because he's seen the only way that they could do it, which seemingly is actually this. And possibly the only way to do it was to call up and to lose, and to call upon Captain Marvel. So she's the only one who could actually save everyone, I think, in Avengers 4, which is obviously why Captain Marvel was coming out just before Avengers 4. Now, half of all the life coming and being destroyed was incredibly accurate. It was a bit different. It didn't happen at the end of the comic, but it happened at nearly the start. So then we saw everyone destroyed, and the rest of the heroes had to go and fight. Now, one thing I didn't like was the fact the Hulk wouldn't come out. We saw Hulk at the start fight Thanos, which was amazing, just really, really well done. And while I don't think maybe Thanos is as strong, he uses his power better, and he uses kind of like sort of UFC style fighting and kicks and all that kind of thing. So I think that he just uses his power better, which is why the Hulk was actually destroyed by him, despite the Hulk being ridiculously strong and powerful. Now, an interesting thing, what I thought was, at the end of the movie, I thought that Thanos had actually died. I thought he'd actually killed himself. I thought that half of the life in the universe being destroyed was actually him. So he was actually destroyed as well. But he sees Gamora in the Soul Stone. So the fact that she was sacrificed, well, she's going to come back. She's quite clearly going to come back. And inside in the comics, the Soul Stone actually has a soul world inside it, where all the dead souls go, and where they all went in the comics when they were killed. So all of these lives are trapped in the Soul Stone, so that's how they will come back. So using a bit of an air hostess thing there as well. Now, one thing as well I was disappointed was the fact that Xandar was mentioned to be destroyed just briefly. It was literally when, he destroyed Xandar last week. Don't worry about it. And I was just like, oh, that's a shame. That is a real shame that actually was never actually mentioned or seen. I would have loved to have seen that in the movie, but we never actually got it. However, we do know that Xandar was destroyed, so I was right in predicting that. And another way that everyone can come back as well, what I really liked was the way that the Reality Stone was used to project the way the Collector was being attacked and tortured. But he actually had the stone already. He had the whole stone, so he could project a different reality and show and bait Gamora out to show that, well, she hates him and wants to actually kill him. So a bit trickery there, Thanos, you evil little guy. Now, one thing I did like was all the comedy as well. The comedy worked very, very well. The way that the gun, it was shooting bubbles and things like that. So that all worked really well again. Now, what's going to happen next is we are going to have everyone who has survived. So we didn't see any Hawkeye, we didn't see any Ant-Man. So we don't know how many of those have actually survived. But I expect the reason that Hawkeye is actually going to come back is because it was such a big threat. He didn't want to go through that again and kind of renege on the promise that he made to his family. Or he was simply on another mission as well. But I think that he was kind of sitting out this one. He decided that, you know what, I've got to sit out for my family's sake. But he will link up with Cap, and the rest of the people who actually survived is quite, like I said, similar to the comic. So this group will unite, and that will be how they try and stop Thanos. Now, what will be interesting is that if at the start of Avengers 4 we see Captain Marvel or someone turn up on the planet where Thanos actually is and try and get them to help him, or they will fight him and take the gauntlet for themselves and be corrupted, which I don't really want that to happen, but I'm excited to see where this movie actually goes next. However, that is it for this video. Please drop a like, please subscribe. I'll see you soon. Goodbye.